the most successful American company in India is Boeing, right? They have like $15 billion of sales in India over time. And they once had an executive search looking for the head of Boeing India. And they called me saying, Gunjan, do you know anybody? Who would know India very well to do this job? And my response was, from what I know about Boeing, it really doesn't matter whether they know India or not. They got to know Boeing. It's such a darn complicated company. Okay, if they don't know Boeing and they know India, they'll fall flat on their face. Okay, and ultimately they ended up hiring somebody from GE who knew Boeing very well because it's a good customer Boeing is a good customer for GE Aerospace. So they went the right way. But the question is from somebody in the aerospace business who's saying, at these large companies, these complex companies with multiple priorities, and you experience that, how can IITians thrive in this corporate culture? How do they, I think what he's not said is really, how do they deal with the politics? I know how to solve equations. I know I'm the smartest guy around or gal around as far as technology goes. But, somebody's power is rising and somebody doesn't like somebody else. How do I deal with all of that? That corporate culture and politics. I'm adding to his question, but just give us a sense, starting with Ranjeet.
So I think especially in the US, and I'll speak from a US perspective first, I do believe amongst all the countries in the world, this is a country where if you are performing, it's very performance focused. I was in Italy once in a large province called Lombardia. We were having a meeting with some of the top officials. And he looked at me, he says, you are an Indian and you are in this position in a BD, which is a US company, how come? And he said, nowhere in Italy, forget about being a European, if I was not an Italian, I would never be in that position in an Italian company. So first thing is, I think we are somewhat privileged to be in this country where performance really pays. And I think there are politics everywhere. You got to believe in what you do. I talked about the leadership style, which is assert yourself, stand out amongst what you're doing. And I think, there's a very good chance amongst everything you're doing to be able to stand out and be successful.
So do you recommend being tactful?
I would recommend speaking your mind, but doing it always. It's not what you say, it's how you say it which matters. So you should always speak your mind, but you should speak it in a way which is constructive. Often people, they confuse between the what and the how. So that would be my recommendation. But I tell you, I have always learned this. In one of my first meetings, somebody asked me, he says, at the end of the meeting, Ranjeet, where do you stand on this? So I made this a point. I said, going forward, people in that meeting will know where I stand. Any decision, they will know where I stand. And often, it's not my decision that wins or it's the final decision, but that's okay. But being able to be comfortable with the fact that they know where you stand, what's your position, what's your leadership style, I think is very important.